Greetings, folks. Just getting set up here. Welcome to Tuesday night bar night. Let me get some more lights on here. Sun's going down here where I live. Welcome. It's Tuesday night. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Mark Hasara, retired Lieutenant Colonel, KC-135 pilot, and I've wanted to do a virtual bar night for quite a while. There's a lot of very interesting things going on. Hey, Bear, welcome. Bear Arm, tell me where you're coming in from, all right? When all of you join, please tell me where you are located. And you don't have to be specific, you can say state of Georgia, New Zealand, Syria, whatever. But Bear, I appreciate you. Good words on my videos. I really appreciate that. All right, folks, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. Hey, Bear, I've got my blinds partially open. Is this good lighting, or should I just go ahead and close the blinds and get rid of the stripes? Tommy, welcome, California. And also, please, I'm open for questions. Anything you guys want to hear about. All right, Tommy, thank you. Thanks for giving me that. Is that better? Oh, yeah, a lot better. There's a few holes, but it's okay. Hey, I really appreciate you guys joining. And again, this is a question and answer period. So if you've got some questions you want to ask, please chime right in, okay? Because I'd love to answer them for you. A couple of things that I want to touch on that I've seen in the news. North Korea builds this beautiful destroyer, and they can't even launch it off the dock. Have you seen the pictures of this destroyer that is, I guess, laying on its side next to the pier? And it sounds like the back end went into the water, or the front end went into the water, and it just basically swapped ends and didn't do very well. Tommy, I'll get to your question here in just a second, because that's a really good question. Okay. So they're trying to launch this destroyer, and it kind of goes sideways, and apparently it's laying on its side in the water, which is not good. But you know what? I got to hand it to the North Koreans. It had all of the newer technology that you would see in a destroyer, the flat sides for, radar properties, making it somewhat stealthier, big gun on the deck, missiles, everything. Very fascinating that the North Koreans were able to pull something like this off. China influence, probably. Russian influence, probably. But hey, they were able to pull it off. They just couldn't get off the pier. And those of you that have seen a launch of a Navy ship, there's like two ways to do it. Obviously, sliding off the pier where it's built, and then of course just filling the bathtub up, a dry dock, and doing it that way. A lot of people are asking, how come they didn't do a dry dock? And I don't know. But there's a lot of damage to that thing, and we'll see what happens. Okay. All right, let's what makes Tommy ask what makes or qualifies a 6th gen fighter, and does China really have them? Go back and listen to President Trump's speech when he is unveiling that um Boeing 6th gen airplane. Do you remember what he said? It's been flying for 5 years. So it's following a similar pattern, Tommy, of the F-117. F-117 Black World program for many years before it finally um, became known that we had these things. And of course, they took a picture from a, believe it or not, a KC-10 that they kind of doctored up. And welcome, algorithm from Syria. And thank you for reaching out to me and telling me who you are on a social media platform. I really appreciate that. But I think that the Chinese, as we have seen, there's a real arrowhead looking like one, and then there's a second platform also, Tommy, that the Chinese have shown that looks amazingly similar to some of our drawings of Lockheed and Boeing 6th gen fighters. And I don't know if you've been watching in the news, and maybe I'll put a video up of that do a short on that real quick. There's one, the arrowhead shaped 6th gen fighter that China has shown. There's a really good video of somebody going down the highway at the end of the runway and that thing going overhead. And it's a pretty decent video. So what makes it a 6th gen fighter? Go listen to my episode with Shrek Sullivan and his buddy Libby, because I asked him that question. Hey, you're going to build a 6th gen fighter. What do you want in it? What should be in it? And they actually answer that question. And this is coming from two Marines that flew F-35s, and they give a pretty good rundown on what it is. Now, to my knowledge, we've never had a stealthy, fast kind of platform. The SR-71 is probably the lone wolf, because a really good friend of mine, aero engineer, said either have stealth or you have speed. It's very uncommon that you'd have both. I think we're about to break that rule. I think you're going to see that this thing is not only very low observable, but it's also very fast, very quick. I've seen drawings of 2 engines, 2 tails. I've seen drawings of 1 engine, 1 tail. The thing that I find fascinating, Tommy, about the whole 6th gen fighter thing is this collaborative combat aircraft, this AI drone that is its wingman. And there was a 60 Minutes episode, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where they had the CEO of Anduril, and he was in some hangar walking around this thing. So imagine this. You have a fast, low observable, by fast, I mean like approaching Mach 3, a fast, low observable, extremely aware of its surroundings through its sensors and AI. It is being fed information from all kinds of sources. If they're making a 6th gen fighter, then that means there's 6th gen weapons too that we haven't seen. But now they just showed this collaborative combat aircraft. So now you've got a smart wingman. That is a drone. It's command and controlled from the 6th gen fighter. It has AI as some of its driving force. It's also fast, also low observable, can carry multiple kinds of weapons. And like I said, if there's a 6th gen fighter, then they've been working on 6th gen weapons too. What those 6th gen weapons are is anybody's guess. Hey, Jason, how you doing? I've seen laser weapons on C-130s. There's laser weapons on ships. So does the 6th gen fighter and its collaborative combat aircraft now have photon torpedoes from Star Trek? Who knows? But you've got to understand, if it's a 6th gen fighter, then it's got 6th gen sensors, 6th gen weapons, 6th gen sensors, a lot of really cool and interesting things, particularly something fast and low observable. Tommy, does that make sense? And here's one thing. I can't tell you where I worked on this or how I came to know this, but there was in my past a project that not only worked with 6th gen type of fighters accompanied with drones, but also accompanied with conventional ICBMs. Think about that for a second. A conventional ICBM. No warhead. Things going 17,500 miles an hour. It doesn't need a warhead. And all the platforms are both sensors and shooters, meaning it's collecting, it's collaborating with other systems, both under surface, surface, and above surface, if you know what I mean. And has a whole range of weapons that it can use. The platform could show up and gather intelligence and start sorting out things before anything even leaves the States. And can also prosecute targets of opportunity in multiple ways. Tommy, I don't know what the nose of the thing was made out of, tungsten or what. Obviously, it was freaking fast. But here's another thing, Tommy, and all of you out there, Jason, Bear Arm, all you guys listening, Algorithm. Sometime this fall, and I can't remember the name of the destroyer, the Navy destroyer, it's going to deploy with Anduril's Roadrunner drone killer, drone destroyer. Sorry, we can't say the K word. And Coyote, a box launched missile for quick reaction kinds of things. You know, I've been working on a book for a long time about a Marine sniper that goes into the agencies, gets tired of it, gets out. Big event back here at home, and they want him to come back. He got out, got his law degree. I'm going to call the book Juror Number 7 because he ends up being on the juries down at Gitmo. And in the book, And folks, I've been working on this on like 3 or 4 years with this idea in my head. And I had Navy destroyers that had small, medium range type missiles that were coming out of launch boxes on the aircraft. Kind of like the AC-130 that has the launch box for the Griffin, but Coyote and Roadrunner are in a class all by themselves. And I have not watched the 60-minute special that they did with the CEO of Anduril. I understand it was very fascinating. But when I was in the Air Force working at Operational Test and Evaluation Center, we were working on networked weapons. And as a matter of fact, something I got to tell you guys, I just saw some video of Super Hornets taking off on, God, what's the carrier that's over there now? Stennis. The Super Hornets were taking off with the small diameter bomb Block 2s, the GBU 53. We call them Stormbreaker. And it has obviously laser guided, GPS guided, but also has millimeter wave. So here's the crazy thing about this is you could tell the system what to look for. You could tell the weapon, I want you to go out and look for this. And it's got beyond 60-mile range. It looks like a small diameter bomb, but it's got a round nose on it. It's got a little cover that comes off. And the Navy and the Air Force are now using these over against the Houthis in Yemen. Really fascinating stuff. The Super Hornet that I saw had what's called Bomb Release Unit 57, Brew 57, which I'm sure all of you have seen on like F-16s when they're carrying two 500-pound JDAMs side by side. It's the exact same launcher or bomb release unit. And the reason it's so fancy is because it has to talk to the airplane, and the airplane has to talk to the bombs or the small diameter bombs or the Stormbreakers, and upload and download stuff into the weapons. So now we are using this networked weapon on the battlefield, and apparently it's had some really good success. Some really good success. Again, because you can drop it from so far away. And there's another weapon that they've been using for a long time. Another weapon that they've been using for a long time called JSOW, Joint Standoff Weapon. I believe it's AGM 154. We were using those in the second Gulf War. And a matter of fact, I think we used them against Saddam in 98 or 99. And they have found that this weapon really has some legs. They can drop it from high altitude. It's a glide bomb. And it's got, excuse me. It's got really special penetrator capability and can blow holes in like big command centers. And then like 1,000-pound warhead or 750-pound warhead goes through the hole it makes. Pretty crazy. Would love to hear your analysis on C5, C6, or I'm not sure what you mean there, Tommy. Is that the new C5 Galaxy? Let me go to algorithm. High bypass turbofan with a faster exhaust gas speed, less efficient than a high. I will tell you the faster one does use more gas. All right. Our rule of thumb for the KC-135R model was 10,000 pounds an hour. The A models were 13,000 pounds an hour. I think the E models were around 11,000 pounds an hour. But I've been flying R models, again, with the great big, high bypass turbofan, CFM 56. I've seen our fuel consumption as low as 7,500 pounds an hour. We had a good tailwind. We were smoking across the ground. Matter of fact, we got to Alaska too heavy and we had to go figure out a way to get rid of some of the gas. I flew around Mount McKinley a couple of times at 25,000 feet, looking up at a 28,000 foot mountain. It was crazy. But the high bypass turbofans with the faster exhaust gas speed, less efficient. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm going to have to look into. Okay, algorithm. I'm not sure. Hey, what time is it where you're at, algorithm? Tell me that. But again, the CFM 56 is a fantastic engine. And as you know, it's on a lot of different airplanes. Okay. Now, bigger nozzle diameter doesn't mean anything. Okay. If you actually go to the back of a KC-135 CFM 56 engine, it's actually a pretty small exit for the high bypass stuff. Faster exhaust speed, it depends. When we were going to Alaska, we had like 130 knot tailwind. After we went by Tokyo, we were smoking across the ground. We had like a 680 ground speed. And we got to Alaska early and heavy because we weren't using any gas because of the tailwind. Crazy. All right. 5:30 in the morning. So, hey, there's a really good book all of you should go out and read. It's called The Power to Fly. The author was an engineer at General Electric from the 60s through the 90s, if I remember right, and wrote a fantastic book on the GE engines and how they transformed. And he's got one chapter particularly on re-engineering the KC-135 with CFM56 engines. Fascinating story. It should be one of those stories that every MBA program talks about. GE and SNECMA had combined to make CFM. They were 2 weeks away from having to cancel an engine that they've now sold, I think, 40,000 copies of. And one of the problems was it has the core from the F-101 engine, which is the B-1 engine. I don't know how many of you knew that. The original core of the CFM56 was from the B-1 engine. And since the B-1 was a strategic bomber in SAC, it was considered classified. And so Henry Kissinger put a stop on it. And when Pompidou and Nixon met in Reykjavik, Pompidou, the French president, said, "We got to sit down and talk about this." And so they figured out a way to keep the core classified and build the engine. And now you see CFM 56s everywhere. It's a fabulous engine. Hey, Jordan, how you doing? Mac, welcome. Hey, thanks, Mac, for stopping by and saying hello. Hope you can stay a little while. Hey, Mac, before you leave, ask a question. Jordan, force packaging. No one can fly anywhere without mutual support of others, not just aircraft. Must integrate cyber and space. Absolutely, absolutely, Jordan. And as you well know, knowing who you are, we're very good at that now. All right. And particularly, that's one of the things we do at weapons school is when we come together the last 2 weeks, it's called advanced integration, where you have cyber, space. There's even an ICBM weapons school now. if you'd have told me there would be an ICBM weapons school 10 years ago, when we had just gotten ours going, I would have laughed at you. But now there is. Okay. There's a RPA school, as Jordan well knows, uh, division of the weapons school. The F-15 division is now closed after like 40 years. Crazy. Hey, Carlo, welcome. Carlo, where are you coming in from? I'm just curious where you're at. Hi, Michelle. Welcome back, young lady. Great to have you. 26 Weapons Squadron, yeah, is the Reaper School. And Mr. Outdoors, I hope you get there. You and I have talked about this. So, algorithm, that's an interesting. Oh, San Luis Obispo. I grew up in San Jose, so I know right where you're at, Carlo. Loved that area. I was born in Inglewood and then spent about 6 years there, moved to Atlanta for a while, then back to San Jose. So, let's see, where was that? Signal spool time. Oh, yeah. That was one of the things about the CFM56 on the KC-135. Okay. It would, after you're on the ground a while, for X amount of period of time, it would go into what's called ground idle instead of flight idle. And if it went into flight idle and you had to go around, ooh, it was tough. And I'll tell you about one story of where I really, really scared myself in the airplane. And it was all my fault. And I fess up to it. And Sluggo's flying skill collided with Mother Nature. And maybe some of you have heard this story before. When we were on the island of Okinawa during the summer and fall, we would have to Typhoon evac. Typhoons would come over the top of the island, 165, 180 mile an hour winds, and we had no place to stuff the KC-135s. So we had to go somewhere. Usually Guam, sometimes Dakota, sometimes Osan. When Clark was open, we'd go down there. We were coming back from a Typhoon evac back to Okinawa, and the winds were really squirrely. And the tower called the winds, and they were within limits for landing. Crosswind limit on the KC-135 R model is 25 knots. And we were at like 24 and a half. But that reading was at the tower, not at the end of the runway. And so we came in, and I was just getting ready to pull the power when I felt all of the lift go out from underneath the airplane. And we started dropping like in an elevator. Excuse me just a second. Hey, Mikey. One thing you'll learn about me is I like to chew ice cubes. Anyway, we're about 30 feet in the air. And about 20 feet in the air. And I was doing a reduced flap landing, about 30, 40 flaps instead of 50. And I felt the lift just go out from underneath the airplane. Big, big gust of wind just blew it all out from underneath the airplane. And we dropped. And fortunately, I tell everybody, hey, you fly airplanes with your five senses. Those of you that fly know exactly what I'm talking about. Even your sense of taste. If you have an electrical fire in the airplane, you can taste it as well as smell it. Anyway, I immediately did the go-around procedures. Pickle power, speed brakes, flaps. And we hit hard. 2 G's on the G meter, maybe about 2.1. Okay. I mean, we came down wham onto the runway. We bounced back up into the air, and all of our energy was gone, and the engines hadn't caught yet. And the wind was blowing from right to left and was blowing us over the grass infield. And I was about 15 feet off the ground. And finally, we felt like the airplane might settle when the engines caught. Okay. And I had it at the max go around thrust setting. Okay. And it was real slow at first. Okay. Because again, the bounce took away all the energy, and the winds kept blowing us over the grass, over the infield, over the ramp, over the F-15 bird bath that they taxied under. And I did the procedures just like you're supposed to. Pickle so that you get the go around indications on the ADI, power to go around power setting, pickle power, speed brakes, make sure the speed brakes are down, and flaps to 20. And I thought we were going to settle on the grass. I really did. And then I thought, crap, we might hit the freaking bird path, because we were getting blown sideways pretty good. But, oh, and you hold the about 6 degrees nose up. Okay. I had about 300-foot rate of climb. Scared the bejesus out of me. I did all the right things, did all the right procedures, but you have to remember, Mother Nature has her own playbook. My first thought was, when we were climbing out, have the boom operator go look at the struts, the main struts. Because I thought, you know what? I may have blown them out, or they're bleeding. And there's 2 windows in the back of the airplane in the cargo compartment where somebody can go back and see the wheel wells and the gear. Normally we use that when we have to manually extend the gear and lock them in place. But this time I wanted to see, what damage did I do? Did I break any of the scissor links or anything like that? Boom operator came back and said, hey, gear up is okay. It's at the right extension and everything, but the struts are bleeding like crazy. And what had happened was I'd broken the seals for the hydraulic fluid on the struts. And so they were bleeding top down. So from the top of the shiny aluminum part, he could see fluid leaking down. So in that situation, when you've had a hard landing, we have a hard landing checklist. We went to that, leave the gear down. And we just left it down. I had 3 green, meaning it was locked in place. I had a landing configuration. Wasn't about to bring those things up. Just leave them where they're at. And he said, Captain Hasara, it's coming off pretty good. Declared a precautionary. Nope, excuse me. If you're in section 3, it's an emergency. Declared an emergency. Number of souls on board, gas remaining, all that kind of stuff. Came around, landed. Nice soft landing. But what happened was, we found out that the winds were in fact out of limits. It wasn't 24 and a half knots. It was about 29 to 30 and a half knots. And I don't know why. Okay. Mikey, pickle is a button on the inside of the yoke. And what that does is cause the rotation go around system to activate, and switches turn, and the command bars to fly the airplane go to like 6 degrees nose up. All right. So when you pickle, when I say pickle power, you hit that pickle button. It's on the yoke. Let's see, left side of the airplane. It's under this thumb, under my left thumb. So the rotation go around switch goes from approach to RGA, rotation go around, and the command bars go up into the correct pitch attitude for going around. So that's what that pickle does. And basically, when you hit that button, it tells the avionics, I'm going around. And all the systems are now going, okay, he's going back in the air. He or she's going back in the air. They're going to go fly again. So when I say pickle, that's what that does. All right. Power obviously is thrust, and you go to the go around thrust setting. Speed brakes, obviously, make sure they're down, because if I had put the wheels down, the speed brakes is one of the first things I bring up. So again, that's why you check the speed brakes, and then you set the flaps at 20. Okay. On the KC-135, the best lift over drag maximum for the KC-135 was 30 flaps, and I think I put them to 30 first, and then later on, as we went around, put them to 20 and left them there. Okay, so I could fly around at 20 at a 20 flap speed, which is about 180, 185 knots. But again, going back into the checklist, we've had a hard landing. Looked at the hard landing checklist, and it says, are the struts bleeding? Leave the gear down, which we did. Called the command post, said, hey, we've had a hard landing. 2.1 G's on the G meter, hit the ground about 130 knots. And when I bounced back up into the air and started sliding sideways, the supervisor flying on the ground is like going, and he's got a mic up to his mouth. He doesn't say anything because he's just speechless watching me go around and literally almost go over the top of his truck at like 40 feet. And when I got outside downwind, he asked the supervisor flying, I can't remember who it was, said, are you guys okay? And I think I said something really stupid like, yeah, I'm glad we got a chiropractor on base, go get my spine adjusted, But you know what? I had the chief of Stanival, Jeannie, gal, sitting right between me, okay? Between me and the co-pilot. And you know what he said? You know what she said? Sluggo, you did exactly what the book tells you to. Exactly. I have nothing for you. And she could have busted me on the ride. If she sees something unsafe, she's allowed to put a Form 8 and go, can't fly anymore unless he flies with an instructor because he's busted. And she didn't do that. She said, you did it everything exactly by the book. And she didn't interject, and I didn't ask her to. My crew worked it out. And then, finally we got on the ground and she said, Sluggo, you did exactly by the book everything that you're supposed to do. You handle it perfectly. And when we finally did land, I rolled all the way to the end of a 11,500 foot runway, pulled off, had the maintenance folks meet me in the hammerhead, because if the struts settled all the way down, I was going to have them tow the airplane. The struts had not settled yet. And they said, you're cleared to taxi. And I told the boom operator, I said, go look one more time. Tell me where these things are at. Tell me where the struts are. He says, there's still a good 3 to 4 inches. So okay, good. I still have some fluid in them. And I taxied back to parking, but I did not park the jet. Normally we'd taxi in. Okay. I said, Chief, I'm leaving the jet here. I'm going to have you uke it back in to wherever we need to. Okay. I'm going to shut the airplane down, get off the airplane, and have you guys uke it back in, because I think it's better that way. Now, how do they fix the jet? Obviously, the jet is what we call code 3, not flyable, not mission capable because of the hard landing. They have to do a complete investigation of the gear and the wing and the spars and all that to make sure that they're fine. And they were. The only thing they had to replace was the seals. Now, the gear on the KC-135, I think each main gear weighs 11,000 pounds. They're really heavy. So what they do is they jack the airplane up so that the gear are just dangling. This is, of course, after they replace this. This is so they can replace the seals. They basically take the gear apart and put new seals in. I don't know what those seals are. I don't know what they're made of, but those seals go in. They put more fluid in and basically see how the gear is hanging and if the shimmy scissors and everything are okay. Did all that, and then they do several what they call dummy retracts, where the airplane is jacked up off the ground. The main wheels are 5 to 8 inches off the ground. They put um, like a dolly on the airplane's hydraulic system that pressurizes it to 2,800 psi. That's the normal range, and they do gear swings just to make sure that it goes up properly and down properly. And I mean, they don't do it just one time; they do it like 5 or 6 times. And each time they do it, before it goes up, they check it. While it's up, they check it. When it comes back down, they check it again. And like I said, they do that like 4 or 5 times because obviously the landing gear is a major piece of the airframe. So that's how they fix the gear. And I think the jet was down for like 4 days when they did this because they have to take it into a hangar. They can't do this out in the open. They have to jack it up on a level floor, which means you can't do it in one of the revetments or anything like that because it's not perfectly level, and you have to have it on level ground when you do it. This is what I was told anyway. And then they do 5, 6 gear swings to make sure everything works and that the gear is not impinging anything on the way up. That's what they're trying to make sure, that the gear isn't hitting something, the tires aren't hitting something or scraping against something on the way up. And believe it or not, there's even ways to adjust the struts so that they are collapse or expand. I'm told there's a way to do that. And I think there's nitrogen involved in it too. I'm not a crew chief, but anyway, that's what they have to do. Now, the reason I explain all this to you is because even the airlines have hard landings. Military pilots have hard landings. Commercial pilots have hard landings. General aviation pilots have had hard landings. And you have to check the gear out. And you have to be smart about it. And like I said, when we hit the ground, I knew we hit hard. First thing I looked at was the G meter and saw 2.1 Gs on the G meter, which is a hard landing, and go from there. Long story. Anyway, Carlo, Jordan, Mikey, Sluggo, not that old. Sluggo will be 68 this week. What did you all typically do on your Typhoon evacuations? Man, Carlo, that's a great question. And I'll tell you, nothing. Most of the time, nothing. Because the Typhoon would take up so much space that you couldn't operate in certain places. All right. We would fly locals. If we were down in Guam, we'd do approaches and landings, touch and goes, things like that. And Carlo, you have to understand, Guam is a really weird place. And we go there all the time. And I want all of you to go look at B-1s, B-52s, KC-135s, whatever, taking off out of Guam. It is the weirdest runway, one of the weirdest runways I've ever operated off of. So looking at it sideways, you have the takeoff end, you go downhill, and about halfway down, it rounds out and goes up about 4 degrees. I think it's 3 down, 4 up, and then you go off of an 863-foot cliff. So you're probably, I don't know, the R model, we would probably, the A model, man, we weren't up that high at all. The R model, better engines, we were probably, 150, 250 feet in the air. But at the end is an 836-foot cliff. So the radar altimeter in the airplane would be going, and all of a sudden go whack like this when you went over the end of the runway, over the cliff. Okay. It literally, 100, 200, 300, 400, whack right to like 1,000, it was the craziest thing. But in the old A models, because they're so underpowered, sometimes you saw your decision speed twice. You'd see it just before you went in the bowl, and then you'd see it coming out the other side. And I, several times at Cadena when we were flying A models, and I flew A models at P's and had 2 deployments to the Pacific Tanker Task Force. We were taking off heavy. We were doing a B-52. We were taking off heavy, and we saw our decision speed twice, going down into the bowl and then slowing down, coming up the other side of the bowl. All right. And it's just that freaky feeling like, we're going to make it. And of course, in the A model, you have to remember 13,500 pounds of thrust from each engine. One R model engine put out 22,500 pounds of thrust. All right. We seriously doubled the horsepower and cut the gas consumption by about 40-45% when we went from A's to R's. But the A models were just pigs. And we'd go over the end of the cliff, 135 feet in the air, 140 feet in the air. I took off at a max gross weight with a water burning takeoff to refuel a B-52 that had left Merced, California, and was flying from Castle Air Force Base direct to Darwin, Australia. One hop. My largest offload, 103,500 pounds. We were connected for 22 minutes. 22 minutes is how long it took us to offload that. 4 pumps going 6,000 pounds a minute. But in the R model, it was completely different, because it was so overpowered. But still, you got to the end of the runway, you went over the cliff, and it was like immediately 836 feet. During the Vietnam War, they did have a B-52 go off the end of the runway, lost power, lost water on some of the engines, the water injection, and they dropped all their bombs, 105, 500-pound bombs, and still couldn't keep the airplane in the air, and everybody got out, so there's a B-52 like 2 or 3 miles off the end of the runway, but I think it's pretty far down because you have to remember the Marianas Trench is there. It's down a ways. So that was one of those weird airfields we'd fly into on Guam, where you'd go down into this bowl and come out the other side of the runway. It's crazy. B-52s would experience the same thing when they're heavyweight taking off, see their S1 decision speed twice, going into the bowl, coming out of the bowl. Crazy stuff. Let's see what we got here. Christian, welcome. Shout out to my uncle who went to be with the Lord recently. Warlock Clark, F4, F-16s, F-15 driver. We're losing too many of them, Christian. Michelle, flying tomorrow. I'm jealous. That's my jealous look. And thanks for the reminder that commercial jets have hard landings too. Yeah. You know what, Michelle, I'll tell you, there's those that have and those that will. I don't know of anybody that I ever flew with who never said to me, "Oh, I've never had a hard landing." Everybody I've ever talked to, even some of my fighter bros, have said, "Yeah, I had a hard one." A matter of fact, Kay Gatsy, welcome. Grissom Air Traffic Controller here. Talk to 135s daily. Yeah. You have a great base there, Grissom. So, Kay Gatsy, when P's closed where I was at, the 509th moved to Grissom. So my 509th unit moved there, then was deactivated. It's been reactivated as the weapons school. It's the 509th Weapons Squadron now, and they've got the same red horse that we had on the tails back then too. Mikey, at what point should you bail out if a large aircraft like a KC-135, if at all? You know what? There was one crew that bailed out of out of a KC-135. They did it at Edwards Air Force Base, and they all lived, if I remember right. And the airplane just kind of did this crazy belly landing. It was an old A model. One of the crazy things about the KC-135, you couldn't bail out with the gear down because you'd hit it. You'd hit the inboard gear doors going out. And so one of the big things about in the bailout checklist was make sure the gear's up, because if the gear's down, you're stuck with the plane. Uncle died in a plane crash only a year after obtaining his pilot license at 39. Years of trying get a visa to the UK to study aviation there. I'm sorry to hear that, Algorithm. What do I think of the X-37B? Boy, would I like to know what that thing's doing. But you know what? What an incredible machine. You know, if I'm thinking of the vehicle that you're talking about, goes out into space, does its thing. A lot of it classified, which probably means intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, collection, or putting something out there that's doing the same thing. And then to have that thing stay out there as long as it does, and then have it just come back to Earth, you know, some crazy technology. Hey, that reminds me of something. You know what one of the hardest things during an air campaign is? Space-based assets. I learned during the Second Gulf War, it's tough to move those things. Takes up a lot of fuel, but sometimes you have to move them. And hopefully, you know, things like the X-37 will do that. Let me look back here real quick, see if I missed anything. Yeah. Sphincter setting maximum, Michelle. You're absolutely right. I'll tell you something, Michelle. After that hard landing, I had a real kind of self-evaluation, you know, because I put my crew in danger. I was told something that, and believe it or not, I had the flight management system in the airplane that could have told me, hey, the winds aren't what they're telling you. And I didn't look at it. And I thought, crap, I put my crew in danger. And you know what, folks? That's the one thing about being in the military. Trust. You know, and trust is very, very hard to obtain, but really, really easy to break. And so I had a long kind of introspective discussion with myself. Crap, I could have done better here. I had things in the airplane that could tell me that the winds that I was being told were not the winds in the landing area. So, Mr. Aircrew Interview, Mike, how are you? Thank you. Thank you for joining. Hey, folks, Aircrew Interview. I cannot say enough good things about Aircrew Interview. Just join in the chat. I want all of you to go watch Aircrew Interview's channel. Please do that as a favor to me, but more as a favor to the gentleman that runs that. Not talked to him for a long time. I've been on his show several times. As a matter of fact, what did we spend? Like 5 hours when I was walking around the Hill Air Force Base Museum. But please go watch some of Aircrew Interviews. Great, great interviews with pilots, aircrew members, and so forth. He's got some fantastic interviews. What did we talk for? About 5 hours? Was it, Mike? I think it was like 5 hours from the matter of fact, I think my phone was about to run out of battery as we were walking around. And this was really cool what we did. I went up to Hill Air Force Base. We dialed in to aircrew interview, and in his chat, people were asking me questions while I was walking around looking at the airplanes. It was a fascinating episode. It was really a lot of fun. But all of you, please go to aircrew interview and watch some of his videos. I do my podcast. He's been doing his a lot longer, and it's really good. All right. So a shout out to Mike and aircrew interview. So I appreciate your words there. Channel's doing well. We are doing well. Fascinated by the U-2 spy plane, Mikey. Everybody's fascinated by the U-2 spy plane. Down at Groom Lake, everything. Yeah, lots of crazy stories. You know what's crazier, Mikey? The configurations. Go look at the configurations that this thing has. You know, it's got the big pods on the wings, okay? But there's like a schnozen on it, you know, a big long nose on it that has a synthetic aperture radar on it. And then, of course, it's got the big antenna on the spine. I think it's called the senior spur configuration or senior span configuration. And we were using that a lot during the second Gulf War because that big antenna allows it to transmit its data off satellites. So you could be literally at Beale Air Force Base, California, and watch the collection of the U-2 over Baghdad. And here's a story that did not make it into the book. I wish it had. I look at the book that I wrote, Tanker Pilot, has 22 stories in it with a lesson learned at each one of them. There's 2 stories that I wish now I'd put in the book that I didn't. The story of where we were on fire under the floor, and the story about, it's called UNMOVIC, UN Monitoring, Verification, and Inspection Commission. UN MOVIC is what they put in chalk on the tail. It's probably about a week and a half before the 2003 invasion of Iraq. And Saddam said, yeah, okay, come on and take a look. And so we sent the senior span airplane with the big antenna on the top and the long nose and the big wing pods, and they let it fly for a couple days. Mike, you're welcome. Would love to come back on aircrew interview. You and I haven't talked for a long time. Oh, Mike, you really need to talk to Jordan. I did an episode with him. Very fascinating. Reaper dude. Anyway, so for a couple days, Saddam let this U-2 spy plane fly a leg west of Baghdad, looking for WMD. I will tell you that is not all it was looking for or looking at. And on the 3rd day, it got intercepted by a MiG-25. One of the very high time MiG-25 drivers. Matter of fact, he was a brigadier general. He was the pilot, the MiG-25 pilot who engaged and shot down Scott Spiker in the first Gulf War. And there was an exchange of radio calls. You come with me, and the U-2 going, no, not going with you. You come with me. No, don't have to. You will follow me. No, I'm on a UN mission. You will follow me now. And the U-2 pilot says, I'm going where you can't go. And put the U-2 on its tail and went up. Up. If you can believe that. Pretty crazy. I've seen what the U-2 collects. It is fabulous. And I think that airplane will still be around for a while. I understand, the Global Hawk will probably take its place, and there may be other UAVs, RPAs that may take the U2 place. But, I haven't looked at the budget to see if the U2 is going to be retired anytime soon. It's such a capable platform, even now. And it gets better with age. Gets a lot better with age and the new things they've put in it. If you want to see a really good about 35-minute show on the U2, Gary Sinise was allowed to go up in the two-seater and go look at that. It's really fascinating. And Gary Sinise is talking about what it's like flying literally on the edge of space. Really good stuff. I did not know that algorithm. Actually, President Hafez Assad tried to intercept a U-2 flying over Syria and got punched after returning to the base because he took off with a broken landing gear. Ooh, wow. And still became president of Syria, didn't he? He was a pilot back then. I did not know that about President Assad. Let me see if I missed anything. Lifted Muscle, thank you. Love your channel. Thanks for all your content and all you do. Got to check out now. Have a great night, everyone. Same to you, Lifted Muscle. Please enjoy the evening. I'm probably going to do this again Thursday night, probably about the same time also. All right. Yeah, Jason, landing is a very fascinating event in the U2. You know what? I did a short on the crew chiefs recovering the U2. If you go back a ways on my channel here, you'll see the crew chiefs running around putting the pogos in. That post got like 3 million views. I was really shocked that it got that many views. I thought, this is kind of cool. They're putting the pogos in so the thing can taxi. And the next day I came in and it had like 730,000 views. I went, what? And I don't know if you folks know this or not, but and this is crazy. All right. I do have an Instagram channel. I don't know if you know that. It's just Mark Hasara, or I think it's LTC Mark Hasara. I have one post. It is a Pathfinder airplane laying down smoke for a slime bomber, fire bomber, telling him where to dump the slime. And this big DC-10 comes up over this hill and lays this stuff down about 150 feet in the air. It has almost 24 million views. One post, 24 million views. You people are crazy. It's 22 seconds long, and the average watch time is 22 seconds long. Average watch time is 19 to 20 seconds. And 23.7 million views is like 9 years of watch time. The analytics on some of this stuff is just crazy. So thanks to all of you out there that go to my Instagram channel and look at some of I post a lot of the same shorts over there that you see here, but that one got a lot of traction on Instagram. So I just want to thank you guys for doing that and spreading that love around. Crazy. Anyway, Luke Sullivan. Yeah, that Insta clip is how I originally found you. Thanks for letting me know that. I appreciate that, Luke. I really do. Thanks for telling me that. Hafez joined the coalition against Saddam, while at the same time accepted member of Saddam's regime. Algorithm is that when they both were members of the Ba'ath Party, which I don't know a lot about. The Ba'ath Party, Ba'ath regime. Is that what you're talking about? I think that's what you're talking about. Anyway, let's see. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about tonight. I talked about the Stormbreaker, the GBU 53s, millimeter wave seeker in it. You can tell it, go find this BMP 70, and its little brain actually has a 3-dimensional picture of it, and it'll go, okay, there it is. And the weapons talk to each other. Okay, I got this target. Okay, I got this one. Okay, I'll take this one. Really amazing weapons. It's only like a 250-pound weapon, but it's extremely accurate. Little Dog, Sluggo, your book that I got from you at Warriors Over the Wasatch was the first book my son read cover to cover and has him bitten by the aviation bug. Thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate you telling me that, because folks, that's really all I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to get people interested in aviation, and knowing that your son, Little Dog, now wants to be a pilot because he read my book cover to cover, fills my heart. Thanks for that note. Eastern Kentucky, Scarface, how you doing, brother? Welcome back. All right. Any more questions? Most of you know I wrote a book. It's called Tanker Pilot Lessons from the Cockpit, which is where my podcast got its name, Lessons from the Cockpit. Those of you that have not listened to the last episode 109, you need to go listen to it. Cliff has befriended a former Hungarian Air Force MiG-21 pilot, communist atheist, who is now flying A-10s in the United States Air Force. It's a fascinating story. One of lots of obstacles. You know, why would we even think about giving this guy a security clearance in the United States Air Force? He had to overcome, you know, where he came from, what he did, all those kinds of things. Of course, when he went through pilot training, a stint in the Army as a Chinook crew chief, trying to waiting to get into the Air Force, goes through pilot training, does fabulously because he flew MiG-21s, and because of his association with the Army, ended up number one in his class and flies the Hogs. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining. And again, folks, all of you, please go tune into Aircrew Interview. One of the very, very first people that interviewed me when my book came out was Aircrew Interview and Mike Young. All right. Please tell your sweet girlfriend, wife, I can't remember. Tell her hello. Enjoy the last day of my vacation. Where are you, Mike? Where are you vacationing from? I'm getting ready to go up in the mountains for a week because I'm writing another book, a fictional book. I'm just curious where you're on vacation, Mike, if you're still there. Anyway, any other questions? Kenneth, thanks. Love your videos. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think Hafez Assad was much wiser than Saddam algorithm. Kenneth, I appreciate that good words on my videos. I'm trying to find some other good ones to share with you guys, which I'll do tonight. Just so you guys know, I usually work on the videos fairly late at night, like 10 to about 1 o'clock in the morning, so that they're there when you wake up. So I usually post them, like I said, between 10 and 1 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I do that so that when you wake up, you'll have something new from me. Any other questions? We have been going for exactly an hour and 10 minutes. And 6:30 in Syria. Folks, I appreciate all your good words here. I really do. Thanks, Mike, for joining. It's great to see you. He may have left already. Aircrew Interview was one of the first podcasts that interviewed. A matter of fact, he was the first. He was the very first person to interview me when my book came out. And folks, he's got great episodes talking to Typhoon pilots, talking to MiG pilots. I mean, just great stuff. 74. Thanks for your work. Thank you for saying that on my work on the podcast and my shorts. I post my stuff on TikTok and here on YouTube, not as much on Instagram. TikTok has slowed way down. There's things that I've posted recently on TikTok that back a year ago would have had millions of views, and I'm lucky to get 15,000 now. I don't know what it is with TikTok. I don't know what's going on with it. I will continue to put stuff there. That's kind of where I build them in the first place. But you can find me either at Mark Hasara or at LTC Mark Hasara on Instagram. And of course, I have my book, Tanker Pilot, Lessons from the Cockpit. All of you remember, I have the only copies, the softback copies, paperback copies with color pictures. So if you're interested, get a hold of me. And I do PayPal or Venmo and mail them out to you. The $27 covers both the book and the postage. Overseas, probably a little more. It just depends on where I send the book overseas. But all the proceeds go to the Airlift Tanker Association. I don't make any money off of these. It's all for the Heritage Foundation and the Scholarship Fund at Airlift Tanker Association. Okay. And again, I've got the only ones that have the color pictures. If you buy it on Amazon, I don't know why they did this. The publisher published the paperback with black and white pictures, not color. We reprinted 1,000 copies, and those 1,000 copies, 400 went to a group back in New Hampshire, and they have those still. And I had 600 of them, all of them color pictures. I put a nice note in it to you. I just need you to pay the $27. I put it in an envelope and send it off to whatever address you tell me to. Little dog, thank you for that. Okay. And again, subscribe to my podcast. This week, I'm trying to get a couple of different people on. I'm not sure who it's going to be just yet. And then, of course, I do custom aviation art, as you see here behind me, the KC-135. So that's a 4-footer. That's my KC-135 that I've had my name on it when I was at Cadena. We do them 4, 6, and 8 feet at wallpilot.com. There's 158 ready to print, and we do custom too, with your name on it, from your airplane, your name on it, whatever. Algorithm, do you favor further development of stealth aircraft? Yes, I do. Anyway, please go take a look at Aircrew Interview also. Folks, I will be back Thursday night, and we'll do this again. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Please come with questions. Not only about what's going on in the military, but of course, military things going on around the world and current events. And let's talk about them. That's why I do this. I call it a virtual bar night around the bar, drinking, adult beverage of your choice. Tonight it's lemon water. I got to get more hydrated. It's getting warm where I'm at now. But I just love doing this. My job is to entertain and educate and entertain. And I will have an announcement Thursday night that I think you're going to enjoy. And I'm going to wait until then to discuss that. But we figured out something new that we can use these graphics for. And I'm very excited about it. Oh, a couple of things. Housekeeping. I will be attending the Oshkosh Air Venture. I will be there all week with the Colonel Gail Halverson Candy Bomber Foundation in their booth. Can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I will also be at the C-54 Skymaster in Berlin Airlift Markings, and Tim Chope, who's the pilot, I'll be spending time there. I will have books with me to sign and sell. I will be attending the Military Influencers Conference in September in Atlanta, Georgia. I will be there through the whole thing. And then I will be in Reno, Nevada for the Tailhook Association convention. Again, I'll have books with me to sign and sell. And then the Airlift Tanker Association convention, which is being held in Nashville, I will also be there all 4 days. So if you want to come meet me, find me at one of those venues, I'd love to sit and talk with you, meet you face to face, retina to retina, and sign a book for you. And again, all the proceeds go to the Airlift Tanker Association. All right, folks. Carlo, Jason, Algorithm, Little Dog, Michelle, all of you. Jason, thanks for joining tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I'm sure I'll have a lot more things to talk about on Thursday night. Have a good night.